everyone. I'm Eszter Kovács, co-founder of DroneTalks, and I'm here at the commercial UAV show. And I'm talking with Andrew Carter, who is the CTO of ResilienX. Hi, Andrew.
How's it going? Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
It's amazing, I know very little about Andrew's software, so it's time for my own education and everyone else's education. I think it's very exciting. I heard very positive things about the software, so I'm very excited to know more. So who are you? Why did you set up a company, or why do you work as a CTO?
Yeah.
How drones came to your life? Just a little bit of background there.
Sure. So I got into this space a long time ago. So through no fault of my own, I ended up as the system architect for the U.S. Army Ground-Based Sense and Avoid program. So we worked on that for about 2007. It was finally deployed in 2016, fully certified by the FAA for routine beyond visual line of sight operations. When we started, there was not a commercial industry that cared about that. By the time that we were done, we had groups like Walt Disney World and Google Wing coming to us saying like, well, we want to fly beyond visual line of sight. How do we do that? Can we use your software? Well, the Army told us absolutely not. You can't use anything you've developed for the military for commercial. So I was involved in a spin-off of a company called Griffin Sensors to actually try to commercialize that software. One thing led to another. Griffin Sensors got sucked back into the parent company, and out of that, we had seen the commercial industry really liked it, really understood the problems because we'd been integrating drones into the national airspace for 10 years. So we had been working with the FAA, we knew what the safety case looked like, we knew kind of what needed to be done. So we spun off, formed ResilienX to kind of go after a niche that we saw as not being addressed within the industry, that really needed to be if we were going to actually scale the entire ecosystem. So that's the origin story. A little bit.
What exactly the software does?
Yeah.
In a nutshell.
So ResilienX provides an in-time aviation safety management solution. That is a long way of saying we monitor the health, integrity, and performance of all of the systems, subsystems, components, data feeds that are involved in these complex ecosystems. So you think of things like comms, nav, surveillance, weather infrastructure, all of the traffic management and digital infrastructure that goes into these things to actually create this ecosystem that allows you to fly beyond visual line of sight. When you think of air traffic management and air traffic control for manned aviation, there's a lot that goes into that, a lot of infrastructure. When people think about a drone, they're like, oh, I have my controller and I'm flying my drone. Well, to actually scale that out, to fly beyond visual line of sight, to fly one-to-many, you actually need this entire infrastructure to be set up and to be operating, and then you have to have it operating at aviation grade. It's not just IoT sensors that you might put around and I hope they're working correctly.
So it's like a one software for all?
Yeah, so we consider ourselves an infrastructure, a digital infrastructure layer, where we monitor everything that's involved in the system, monitor all the data, and then when there are issues, our software actually helps mitigate the situation. So we want to maintain a level of safety at all points in time.
This is very different because, it's like a UTM in one level, like a UTM software integrated in it with smart functions. But I like the part when you also say you help to mitigate.
Yep.
That's exciting.
So we work with what you'd consider traditional UTM companies, and we don't compete with them because we're actually providing the information on mitigations to their systems, which are then going out to the different users to understand, here's the problem, we've detected it, here's your mitigation strategies, here's your contingency management strategies. The system may do things automatically, it may degrade gracefully, maybe there's an airspace you no longer want to be able to fly because you lost a ground-based sensor. And so communicating that out through the UTM ecosystem to all the different operators is kind of how we see that tech stack playing out and what we're already doing.
I get it. So you are the brain behind.
We're the monitor.
Yeah.
Right? We try to we try to monitor and then orchestrate a solution so that when there are issues, right? We don't want the ecosystem can't be brittle. When there's an issue that happens, which they always do. You can't just land, you can't just stop flying, you can't just go home. If you actually want to have a commercial industry, you have to be able to adapt, you have to be able to overcome, you have to be able to actually keep on operating, maybe in some degraded manner, or maybe changing something up.
And how dynamic is the information and the data what you provide? Is it real time?
Yeah, we do everything real time. It's not post-processed, right? We have to do some filtering and stuff, so we don't want to do false alerts all the time. So it's not like millisecond latency. But we are acting on the data coming off of the different systems and sensors as it's coming off, not in a post-processing manner.
That's very important, I think, to highlight. So how many years ago you set up the company, or when was it established?
Yeah, so we started in 2019 as a part of the Genius New York program.
Oh yeah.
So that was our. We kind of pitched the idea to them, and they were like, "Oh, we really like it. You know, why don't you guys set up a company to explore it?" And that was kind of our genesis. They gave us our seed funding, and then we've been really going ever since then, working with NASA, the FAA, various state DOTs, and commercial operators.
So how big is the office now? How many people?
So we're 7 full-time right now, but we're expanding. We're going to be 12 full-time in the next few months. We're literally
that's like nearly doubled.
yeah, we're doubling it this year. So it's been, yeah, the growth trajectory has been pretty solid.
So you see the industry is growing now. I guess if you hire 5 more people, you see like an uplift.
Yeah, it's I think with the FAA starting to move a little bit, starting to show some signs of life in this area, what we're seeing is that people are willing to start investing. It's no longer an if question. People see the when now.
Yeah.
And so they're like, okay, now we can get beyond just the talking about it point. Let's figure out what it actually takes to build these systems. Let's figure out, who's still alive in the industry, right? It's been a long 5 years. Not everyone that was here 5 years ago is here today, right? So, who's making traction, who's doing real things. And so we found a lot of traction just from that aspect of people see us actually contributing and building these ecosystems. They want the same thing. So we can work with a lot of different groups that are actually getting the funding now to put these things together.
So you have investors or?
Not venture capital, angel.
Amazing.
Yeah, we have angel investors, some kind of strategic people that we know that we like what they bring to us outside of the money, as much or more than the
knowledge
value. Yeah.
Knowledge. Amazing.
Yeah, where they kind of fit in.
Yeah. I'm asking it because I heard like this year is really flat regarding investment. People say that, it's a difficult year to raise investment.
We've been extraordinarily lucky. We come from a DoD proposal writing background. And so we've been able to work with different government agencies and do R&D, which allowed us to build our roadmap of our product for the last 4.5 years to the point that this year is starting to really commercialize. And so now we have all of the R&D that's been done. Now we're getting commercial revenue, and at no point in time did we ever need to run at a deficit. So we've always been cash flow neutral.
Amazing. This is a good result, in this ecosystem.
We're happy with it, I would say that.
I think it's very great, especially in this ecosystem, because a lot of people, in my experience, build a product or investment money, and they never check, the revenue generation and the reality of the product. And it seems like at your case is not the case. So it's amazing. So one more question is that if you would have an advice for the ecosystem and governments, usually a lot of European governments watching us, civil aviation authorities, smart cities, drone manufacturers, what would be your message to them? What's next, or what should we do together as an industry, or maybe to the government in Europe or maybe in the US, what would help you to move forward, and what do you think, what should we do, what is needed currently?
So I think a few things. I think that the infrastructure that supports the ecosystem is often overlooked, and not just the physical sensors or stuff out there, but the actual digital infrastructure.
Yeah.
So one thing that we're going to be doing for U.S. government agencies is a turnkey digital infrastructure, which brings a lot of different things together, makes it mature. Right? We go through the whole modeling-based systems engineering. We go through the whole V&V process. We show all the test cases and use cases. And we're able to say, this is a thing that you can use in a different location. It's very mature. It's not a lot of NRE or non-recurring engineering costs to make it work the first time. It's been proven out. But just the fact that there is a need for a digital infrastructure for this industry is something that not all the governments get. They're like, well, we have air traffic management. What do we need for this? It's not really the same. It doesn't work the same. It's not the same solution. It's really a different set of requirements, different set of use cases. So I think that's a big one. And then I think just letting the governments know that there's a maturity starting to form in this industry. I think a lot of governments got turned off early on in the industry by a lot of smoke and mirrors marketing.
Yeah.
And so they're like, oh, this is great. And they bought it and it doesn't do what they thought it did, right? Yeah. And so we've certainly seen in conversations with different government agencies that they're a little skittish.
Yeah, there's some disappointment, some sourness.
It's again, I go back like 4 or 5 years ago. The industry is new. People are coming out of the gate and claiming all these big things, but it takes a long time to build aviation-grade software. That is not an app that's done in 60 days, right? So I think the message for me, to those government agencies is the industry is maturing, and it's matured a lot over the last few years, and to the point that the products do what they say they do in a lot of cases now, and they have a track record, and they can showcase the different areas they've been working in. And so, kind of take a fresh look. Don't be dissuaded by maybe a bad experience you had 3-4 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, it's a new start. White paper out, and let's start it over. Thank you so much, Andrew, for the discussion.
Thanks for having me.
I loved having you here. Thank you to everyone.